I'm Michelle Dawn Mooney. I'm here with my guest, Dr. Cerra Kelly. She is a naturopathic doctor, and I can't wait to hear how she came to be a naturopathic doctor, and also something that she has some insight about with regard to something we often overlook, the quality of the air that we breathe. Can't wait to hear what she has to say about that. So, Dr. Cerra, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you.
And do you prefer that I call you Dr. Cerra, Dr. Kelly? I think you have a lot of fans and followers and patients who call you both, right?
Yeah, I prefer Dr. Cerra.
Dr. Cerra. Okay. So, Dr. Cerra, tell us, how did you get to be Dr. Cerra? Where did that start, the path to becoming a naturopathic doctor?
Yeah, I was working on my biology degree at Rutgers University over in New Jersey. And while at Rutgers, I became trained as a yoga instructor and got really interested in my own personal healing with health and wellness. And I explored meditation and nutrition and mindfulness. And at the end of each yoga class, it wasn't out of the ordinary for a student to come up to me and say, "What should I do for back pain?" Or "What's a good pose for menstrual cramps?" Or, "Hey, since coming to yoga, I've been able to come off of my antidepressants." And when people were sharing all these things with me, I started wondering, are there any medical professionals out there who are helping people get to the root cause of their health concerns without just band-aiding the symptoms? And so I remember the night very specifically that I went home after teaching yoga and I Googled medical doctors that help patients come off of pharmaceutical medications. And that's when I found naturopathic medicine. And ever since that moment, I've been very passionate about holistic healing and helping everyone just live an abundant and healthy life.
And let's talk about that, because obviously you are helping so many people. And I love how you say you got your start, but what are specifically some of the issues that you see in your practice, specifically to what I just alluded to with the air that we breathe, and maybe even something we don't like to talk about, but mold, which is something that is affecting, unfortunately, a lot of people.
For sure. So in my practice, I specialize in mental health and hormonal health. My main clientele is women from ages around 20 to 35 who are either seeing me for anxiety, depression, fertility concerns, PCOS, endometriosis, healthy pregnancies, or postpartum depression. And while working with individuals, I'm working with them to understand what is causing their symptoms. Why are they feeling anxious? Why do they have painful periods? Why are they not getting pregnant? Why are they struggling with depression? And through a collective realm of integrative testing, whether I'm looking at their hormones or looking at their nutrients or looking at environmental toxins, I help them decipher what we need to heal so that they can have optimal health. And when it comes to mold, out here in San Diego, it's very prominent. There's so many houses and apartments along the coast. So a buildup of water inside walls and under cabinets and growing of mildew and black mold is unfortunately really common. And mold is also called a mycotoxin. And these mycotoxins are what we call endocrine disrupting chemicals that when they come into your system, they are wreaking havoc on your endocrine system, on your nervous system, and on your musculoskeletal system. So some common symptoms of a mycotoxin exposure, the main one is just fatigue and an overwhelming amount of tiredness. And then, of course, if you have an allergy to something, you're going to experience things like stuffy nose, coughing, difficulty breathing, skin rashes. And it's not always those acute allergic symptoms. Sometimes we have more of our long-term symptoms that are coming about. Mold can mess with our brain and our nervous system, like I said previously. So a lot of symptoms of anxiety and depression and sleep problems and poor memory and brain fog and difficulty concentrating will also arise if we are exposed to any type of mold that is now inside of our system and wreaking toxic havoc.
Some scary stuff, very scary stuff. The good news is we have tools that can help combat that. So let's talk about air purification, because clearly, as I kind of started, we overlook sometimes the quality of the air we breathe. And as you just said, there was a laundry list of things that can affect people, and really serious effects, detrimental to our health and well-being, mentally, physically. So what do you look for when it comes to air purification, and with your patients, even just in your office, how to keep your air as clean as possible?
Yeah, that's a great question. So inside of a building, we're looking for a new upgraded building, so ones that aren't exposed to becoming damaged. And then living location wise, we're looking to be somewhere that's not near airports and busy highways and things like that. If we happen to be in an old building and next to an airport, or one or the other, or maybe you are in a newer building and we're still concerned about air quality, inside of an air purification system, the first thing we want to look for is a HEPA filter. And the second thing is a carbon filter as well. And then there are other air purifier systems that have even higher technology, like germicidal lamps and different filtration systems and different ways to reduce like chemical odors and fragrances that could be in the air from paint or carpets or candles and perfumes. So there's different tiers of air purifiers, but the bottom tier, the main one, if we know that there is a mycotoxin or a mold exposure, we definitely want to get them a HEPA filter.
And specifically when it comes to air purifiers, what are you looking for? What brands, or how would you even, I mean, as a doctor, because you have so much responsibility that you want the best outcome for your patients, where are you turning to have the best air purification? And what have you found in your research to find out which one would give you the best results?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I want to make sure that they're big enough to cover the square footage of a building that someone might be exposed to a mycotoxin or a mold in. I also want to make sure that they have, like I said before, a HEPA filter and an activated carbon filter. So once I put in the parameters for how big we want and then having a HEPA filter, I mean, you're still going to get pooled with hundreds of different air purification systems. So yeah, HEPA filter. And then what I typically do with my patients is I'll list out my top 3 air purifiers. You know, you have your Bentley, then you have your Cadillac, and then you have your Honda Civic. So people who are having the financial stability to purchase the top tier ones, then, you know, it'll be listed out for them what I think is the best.
So knowing that air quality is so important to you and talking about, of course, the devastating effects of mold, what does Dr. Cerra use in her office when it comes to air purification to make sure that her patients are breathing in the best air they can?
Yeah, Michelle, I use the Skye air purification system for a couple of reasons. The main one being for mycotoxins and mold exposure, but second for reducing the amount of viruses and bacteria are in the air, and as well as reducing any odors or fragrances that may be coming through that patients are wearing inside the building. What I was also looking for was for an air purifier that wasn't just the HEPA, which removes dust, pollen, and mold, but the Skye has the germicidal lamps, which helps remove bacteria and viruses, and also mold and fungi as well. So for in-office purposes, when I have patients coming in and post-pandemic, or we're probably still in the pandemic, during the pandemic, giving them peace of mind of, hey, I have this machine in here that's reducing the bacteria and viruses in the room. So that was number 1 for me. And then number 2 was the activated carbon to remove the odors and gas from the air. Fragrances are not the best for our system. So patients come in wearing perfumes or wearing cologne or having different types of deodorant that are emitting this odor into the air. And if I have a patient who's coming in wearing a high amount of perfume, sitting on my couch, I meet with patients for 80 minutes. They're here for 80 minutes. When they leave, prior to having the Skye in my office, that scent and that fragrance would be sitting in the air until the next day. And I have patients coming in who are getting triggered with migraines, or they're coming in and now they're feeling nauseous because they're smelling this fragrance, and that just wasn't okay. So that was huge for me, having the activated carbon to help remove those odors. And then, of course, the HEPA filter, which is helping removing the mold and the fungi and dust and pollen and things like that.
And we're talking about the bad aspects of mold and poor air quality, but there is good news. We've got hope because we have some wonderful air purification systems in place. You've been talking about Skye. That's what you use in your office. Let's talk about how we can flip the switch and the good news when it comes to people that might have these issues or have molds or have poor air. What can happen when we switch things up and we change that? Can you give us any specific examples or stories of maybe a personal situation or one with one of your patients where we saw a good outcome come out from this?
Yeah, definitely. So once we have a patient's test back and we're seeing positive mold in their system, or if we just know from looking in their environment that there's mold in their building, we want to put their body on a personal detox system. So I want to eliminate the mold from the system and the tissue that it's stored in, but I also want to make sure that the environment that they're in is being cleaned. So that's when the air purification system's coming into play. Once we are detoxing their body from the mold and they are also in a more purified air environment, I've had patients who have gone like 10 years of having chronic migraines or chronic sinusitis and throat infections or terrible sleep quality and waking up feeling tired, that once this air purification system is inside their building, they have more energy, they're not getting chronic infections, they're not in any depressive or anxious state because of that mycotoxin that's in their system. We want to eliminate the exposure as much as possible. The air purifier is doing that while I'm healing their body from getting it out of their body.
That's great news to hear. So really no downsides of having better air quality.
Oh my gosh, no.
It's only up and up. The better we have that air purification, the better our areas, the better quality of life and health we're going to have. Dr. Cerra Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. Some great information looking at the Skye purification system. Obviously, a great option for your patients. That's what you use. And hopefully a lot of other people listening out there might want to turn to Skye as well, because as you just shared, some wonderful, good, positive outcomes from getting better air quality, reducing the detrimental effects of mold, and hopefully a happy and healthy lifestyle with cleaner breathing in and breathing out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.